July 17th, 2021. I am at a state I have rarely been in my entire life. In fact, I'm not even in a state during this time. I am in a country, a different country. In a sheer ironic coincidental turn of events, being both mentally and physically lost at the same time has its quirks. At some point, when you're as far as down as you can go, there's only one way left, one direction to take, and that is up. In this day and age, life is learning about the right times to disconnect, to step away. I've talked about time and its movement, but in the grand scheme of it all, it is not going anywhere. That might not make complete sense, but people, friends, connections, experiences are always going to be there for you. And when it is time, they will be ready. So now, get ready for the wildest summer yet today on Clean's Chats. Tap tap, hello, is this thing on? Welcome everybody. It's been a trip. It's been quite a little while. I again apologize. I continue to apologize because I continue to make promises that I just can't make. But, here we are still. For reference, I keep promising to have Clean Chats out by a certain time, and then I just keep folding. Probably because I put too much. I pride myself on putting too much effort than I need to on podcasts. But I always go through a nice effort to make it kind of not just a talk podcast. Press the record button, talk for 15 minutes, end record button, submit on YouTube. Where's my thumbnail already pre-made for me? Anyways, I like to make things an experience. That's why I have, background footage and very slight, background audio as well. Sometimes it's not that interesting to just hear me talk. Come on, people. Additionally, there's just kind of the things I do at the beginning where I kind of have that profound statement that doesn't really make a lot of sense in the grand scheme of things, but when you re-listen to it, maybe you actually make some more sense. Anyways, I don't want to get too out of the, out of the metaverse of the YouTube. I don't want to talk about stuff or updates that's going on because I want to make this, both I want to realize that people, when they listen to podcasts, it's a one and done, right? You're not listening to you're not going back to listen to Joe Rogan episode 276. Oh, that's a classic episode. Well, I want to actually know, what was that episode about? Joe Rogan 276. I just need a random number. It was with Devin Seaman, Abin Marty, and Dale Cameron. Okay, what a weird one. People aren't going back to that. People aren't going back to that episode. So I have to realize that I don't want to date things too much in podcasts. I don't want to have to talk about update. What I'm doing. I had breakfast last week. That's going to be so irrelevant. Just talk about what you want to talk about, bro. But at the same time, it is very to date, This is recorded. There's probably going to be a lot of things to discuss that were surrounding the year or the few months. I literally just did an episode about quarantine a year ago. And that's kind of, ironically, that's still to date because of what's going on now. Omicron, am I right? Anyways, I appreciate all of you for your wait. And I appreciate all your trust. I appreciate all your compassion, continuous, as I sometimes don't deliver, but you guys are just the best audience and the best friends. So I hope to spoil you. I really want to just kind of push myself to just spoil these guys. They've been through a lot. And the year is getting to an end. And I'm glad that we finally get to celebrate 2022. Oh, man. It's been fun, I hope, for everyone. I feel like there's you could both say it's you have all the chances to be better than 2020, but at the same time, maybe people like that year. It was certainly unique, and I think every year just has that little quirk about it, right? I mean, that's why I do my end of the year tweet. I always just find a way in my brain to revolve around something specific, right? Revolve it around a theme of what I'm doing, how I'm acting, or just so on and so forth. There's just things that continue to come back to a certain thing. And I don't even mean it to. It just happens. It's just a perfect surge, a wave that just connects at the one dot, and there it is. The word. Connection. I gotta make sure I release this after the end of your tweet goes live, because then this will be a spoiler. You gotta read it, of course. I'll probably have it linked somewhere. If not, just go on my Twitter. It's always there. But I'm also maybe expanding it to other platforms. My real life platform. They love my family loves to read those as well. So maybe put it on my Facebook. Remember that? That's relevant. TikTok. I should maybe get in the TikTok game. That's a topic for another day. But yeah, the word was connection this year, wasn't it? And you want to know why? Is because I never felt maybe one of the most disconnected times of my entire life. It's ironic how that works, but you kind of got to listen to the story to know how it all goes down, right? I usually have a very blank script. Even then, like, it just is helpful, a few keywords. I'm like, okay, do I get to this part, then this part? Here, I don't even have anything because I've just been so ready to get this out. I meant to have this out by September, but now kind of the memories are not as fluid in my brain. I won't be able to remember all the details that I've wanted to talk about. But I wanted to discuss this because it's important for the tweet, it's important for me, it's important for what I'm doing going forward. Whew. So if you don't mind, let's lavish a bit. Let us, turn the clock back a little bit. It is June, I want to say. It is June of this year, 2021. Here I am going through life, and I'm having a lot of fun. I've been streaming a ton more, and having a lot of fun doing it, uploading VODs to the archive, being in the Discord community with all the friends I've interacted with and kind of grown up to this point. And things are starting to merge. Everyone's starting to merge together. People from all types of my groups are kind of merging and meshing together, which at once felt just so weird, right? You ever have those two friend groups that you have that they're just polar opposite people, but then you kind of merge them together. It just kind of feels weird, right? It feels off. Feels like something's not aligned. But then it works out. At least I hope that they do. I had a lot of that to experience this year because I was just so, I wouldn't say conflicted. I was so everything that was happening. And I want to actually get a thing on screen real quick that I refer back to. There we go. So it's getting to June and I'm having fun with this Twitch and YouTube game, but suddenly Ori, my only game that I ever speedrun, the only thing that I ever do competitively, comes out with a tournament. You see, how do you play a tournament for Metroidvania? Well, simple. You get someone to make a code for a randomizer that randomizes all the abilities, skills, and pickups that you can get. And it's a race to complete the game with a certain seed as fast as you can to beat the game. And here I was saying, I could do something like that, right? At least I hope. Well, I did it back in 2018. I got 6th place, but that was kind of when I wasn't really interacting with a lot of people. 2018 was a very kind of moot point of, YouTube, Twitch, everything really. My community wasn't even really existing back in 2018. But this is where it is. This is where it's happening. Everyone's here. So here I go, kind of just no-lifing into trying to get better for this tournament to kind of get back up to speed to what I was back in 3 years prior. But obviously, you need to not always say pressure yourself. You gotta, keep yourself at a steady pace, keep yourself pushing harder and faster to become the very best. The fastest thing alive. love Sonic. You guys say for Sonic 2? I certainly am. Hope it's not just bad. I don't think it will be. I think what Paramount did to kind of save Sonic after it was terrible and get it to become one of the best video game movies ever made, I mean, you gotta pat yourself on the back. Anyways. Whew. The real story becomes when something snapped. Something that I don't really know how I can explain or express, but I can kind of do it in simple terms. Terms that don't point any people out or pry in any specific situation or scenario. But for me, something hit when I was just wanting to focus on this one thing. Obviously playing Ori and having fun. But there's a lot of things surrounding me at the time that was definitely hitting in the not like the right spots to mess me up, you know what I'm saying? How do I explain this in the best way possible? So, as I was discussing, I had a lot of friend groups due to this new Discord server, this new community I made. People started meshing together for me. Everyone from all angles was coming together, and it was awesome. This whole community that I've grown, all these people that I've known for so many years, were finally coming together. And you're supposed to feel good about that, right? A community centered around you. But something felt off about it. And I don't really know why. And I was essentially having two distinct brain pulls at each other. I was having a sort of like discomfort of having two beliefs in my head at the same time. One was saying, hey, what are you doing? This is your group of people coming together. This is awesome. That the other was just saying, something's just feels weird. Why are they acting the way that they are acting? I had a sort of cognitive dissonance. And I realized that I was in a wave of stuff, right? When you do something like that, where you merge everything together, you got to make sure you're ready. Even if I was ready, I feel like I just didn't know what to expect, or what I was expecting to be hit with. Then all of a sudden, everything started going to kaput. People I were friends with were kind of, I wouldn't say breaking apart, but having questions. People were falling in and out of activity, and then people started getting in tune with specific parts of my friend group that I kind of wasn't really okay with. It was kind of like an infiltration of sorts. And it turned down to that I essentially was letting my guard down, turning my guard, not intentionally to like let my groups come together, but then realizing that I didn't want that. Have you ever felt like you intentionally did something, saw the good in it, and then it hurt you in the process? I don't think it specifically hurt me, but it certainly shook me off my rocker. And it made me realize I need to think about the way I do things. The way I think about people. The way I interact. The way I connect with people. Whether it was the fault of mine or the fault of the people who infiltrated, or essentially felt like I was being replaced. Maybe a bit of jealousy, you could say. Or platonic friendship. The way I was feeling towards people, how they were interacting. Friendship's complicated. I said it in my first episode. I continue to say it here. The ways you connect with people is so complicated, right? And the ways and the words I had to say to people had to be very specific on, how I was feeling. And even now, it's still difficult to express, but you always got to be careful in how you say things and in what ways you say them. You never want to have things go askew, right? So I spent a few minutes kind of just pulling through a few messages that I did back in the day, back in the olden days of the summer. How just stuff got uncomfortable for me on how I was getting introduced to this new dynamic of connecting with others because of the fact that everything was just in one place. Everyone could just talk to each other. I don't know why for me, which kind of makes sense when in the grand scheme of things when I think about it. I've had so many friend groups, right, that have just been disconnected from one another, right? I have one friend group up there, and this dynamic, our dynamic is this. I have another friend group that I met a few years ago. I also have this group. It's always been like that for me. Yeah, this is the first time where it's not disconnected. They're all in one place. They're all in one party. And while it was awesome to see, there were specific people where I just needed to really think about how the dynamic would shift, them talking to others and them talking to me. And it definitely sounds like I'm just being weird, which I definitely was back then. And that's why I needed to take a break. I needed to make sure I knew the way I was connecting with the people, the way I thought that they were infiltrating on my life could get fixed so that I could, speak to them and say, this is how I'm going to be better. Because some of those people are some of the most, those are some of the biggest people I care about in my life. It's the most important people I care. So I just think there is a dynamic that I needed to make sure I was adapting for, and I don't know if I did. People will always say, oh, I did something wrong, but nah. I think at the end of the day, it was something I needed to make sure I needed to improve on. I think, obviously, it's a very unique story. It's a very unique mindset, and a lot of people will get it. It's hard to put this in a podcast format, but I think it's important to do because it's a story about always making sure you know when to break off, have your own time, and come back when you're ready to kick some butt. But at the same time, right, there's always those people like, I'm taking a break from YouTube, or I'm taking a break from Twitch, or taking a break from the internet. A lot of times, some people are always like, they abuse that, They always say, oh, I'm having a mild inconvenience, I need to leave for 5 years. And you're like, really? That's kind of annoying. So you could say sometimes I'm like that, but obviously there's times where it's like, well, yeah, I need to understand that. You need to take some time, because I think it is important. You get caught up in a lot of things. You get caught up in the flow of life. When you have a strong switching dynamic on how your group operates, you need to step back. And that's what I had to do this summer. And it was kind of the perfect storm for me to do this. I had a thing that could occupy my time, keep me busy, keep me thinking. This was the tournament, the Ori and the Blind Forest tournament for the randomizer. And there was additionally a 3-week vacation I was about to undertake. And so I took it upon myself to really focus on doing the tournament and focus on thinking about how these friends mattered to me and how I needed to make sure that they stayed at a soul important part of my life. Because that is what is truly important, you know? Having these friends to build off of, to build memories, experiences, relationships. It's continually amazingly important. At least I think. I mean, you guys can let me know how you feel. But at some point in the year, the monotonous days really got to me. And where I felt kind of not just like the boo-hoo lonely, where's my girlfriend, right? But like the actual just loneliness of having all these friends with this new dynamic. It just didn't made them feel like that they weren't the same. And at the same time, there was stuff going on in my real life that was also affecting me with the family. Family was being crazy. I think if you saw the last episode of CHATS, I had my first real connected family member pass away, my grandmother. And that was the first time where something like that really hit me harder than I've been hit in a while. So there's definitely a lot to say that's been new in the dynamic of how I've interacted with friends, family, people. And after I was disconnected for so long, trying to get back integrated was very hard, but I knew it was important for me to really rethink how I was doing so that things could get better. And there was one night where I just kind of hit me so much where there was a friend that, because of what was going on, I disconnected from them for so long, and I kept them I made them probably really worried that I just in a rush made like an hour-long video just talking about how I was just messing up, and I needed a break to make sure I could come back better. And I kind of don't even want to rewatch the video since I've made it. You know, I've gone through and reread texts I've sent, but something like that video, that was I don't know if I want to rewatch that. It's a little cringe. But I think at the end of the day, a lot of times in life, and this won't be the last, but there's just one thing that just truly reworks everything, right? And you go through a lot of those pivotal changing moments of life, if you will. You always have a few of those. I wouldn't say that this is one of them, but it's certainly one that helps me improve upon how I interact, how I connect, how I make new experiences. It's something that is always so important to me. And it will continue to be incredibly important to me. And obviously, reading through the text, I do sound like a big idiot because I'm here. I am now. It's December, and I'm looking back, and I'm thinking to myself, what a great group of people I have, and I'm so glad I get to be a part of their life, and I'm glad that they're a part of mine. And in the future, I'll continue to make new experiences with new friends, new people that are coming in and out of my life, because that's the cycle, baby. I just had a friend come back into my life after being disconnected from them for maybe like 2 to 3 years, even though they're right there on social media. Just, you get through that, again, that monotonous string of life keeps you pushing and going and going and going. And especially for my case, because I was just really focusing on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and Discord, that from a Facebook standpoint, I could be dead because of how disconnected I was. The internet is making things more connected, but it's also making things harder because you feel like you have incentive to stay connected. You feel like you have an incentive to stay in the loop, stay in the niche, stay relevant, quote unquote. It's a literal thing. It's not just a meme on YouTube and social media sites. It's a pull that us humans have to just stay that, because we're social creatures, stay that relevancy. And on Instagram, I'm completely irrelevant. But I mean, on YouTube and Twitch, Discord, I'm a completely different story. And that's why for 2022, the whole message about being more connected than ever before. And that is what I wanted to make the push for. And that's what I wanted to learn while I was gone during my 2 to 3 week slump just playing Ori. And it all collided into this perfect ironic state, this complete sense of loss. Not like I lost stuff, but I was lost. I was lost in the woods. Not actually in the woods, but I was lost in a Walmart. Specifically, I put this on my Snapchat story, but the story goes, there were preliminary matches for the Ori tournament that were going on during my vacation. The tournament didn't start until, I want to say, August. And July, during my vacation, there were the prelim matches that actually got you into your seeding position into the bracket stage. So you had to do at least a number of those prelim matches. So I needed to bring a laptop to my trip. Sadly, I do not have a PC that can run the game. I have a Mac. I have this big old computer rig, but I can't bring that. Luckily, I do have a brother who has a PC laptop. And I did some tweaking, and, a few days before, I kind of set up all the stuff, the game, and the, splitter to count my time and all that stuff. So I was ready to actually play on his computer while we were in town. And he had to bring it as well because he had to do some online courses during our stay. So I was like, okay, this will work out. So we go on the plane, we fly over to Mexico, Cabo, amazingly. And then the day we get there, obviously there was a match, I think, going on. There was like a match, I think, a few hours after we landed. So we got to the the place where we were staying. Beautiful location, by the way, the one and only in Cabo, one of the best resorts I've stayed at. And so I was like, okay, Joe, here, hand me the computer. I can help kind of set up all our stuff for us to do our thing when we have to. And that's when it all goes down. Not messing with my brother because I think he's a wonderful person. I don't think I don't fault him for this. Make his character of being whoopsie. But yeah, he left his computer in the security check terminal, where he had to take it out of his bag, put it on the conveyor belt. He never grabbed it back. So, about an hour before a race, I just had completely had thrown a wrench and a whack, and I maybe it spiraled. When you have all this stuff hitting you in the background, all this stuff that was doing you, all this dissonance that you were dealing with your friend groups, and having this tournament essentially act as your way to just kind of get away, to kind of relax, think. When that's gone, and I needed to do those matches to get in this tournament, and a week-long slog of just nothing, I pretty much cracked. And I said, look, I don't care how it takes. I don't care what it's going to take. I need a computer right now. Since my brother needed to take his test anyway, we planned to get one, but I was just in a panic. I was just actually going crazy. And I said to myself, I need one right now. I need one. I don't care how it's going to take. I don't care how long. They were ready to go, hang at the pool. And I was like, I need to go do something. I need to go get a laptop. Now, bear in mind, this is Mexico. This is Cabo. You know, people. This isn't. You know, obviously there's Walmarts there and there's supermarkets, but the kind of language barrier. There's a little bit of a barrier for the resort members, and there's such a huge barrier for if you even go outside of it. And I said I just need to go to anywhere. So I go myself. I go in a taxi with someone who kind of gets English, and I have them just take me to a Walmart. Now the problem is that it's not like searching for computers is easy if it's in the same country. Searching for computers in a different country with a non-English language being the majority is a little tougher, because you don't really know. You don't really know where the good ones are. You don't really know where you're going to find the top tier gaming rigs. I mean, where are you going to find a gaming computer on the panhandle or the peninsula part of Mexico? Trust me, it was a story. I ended up just going to the basic Walmart and just buying the best computer that there was on sale there. And there ended up being, I think, was it a Best Buy? Or is it a Staples? I think it was a Staples. We went back home from a restaurant, I want to say like 4 nights later after this whole thing got resolved. I think we went to a Staples, and there was actually a pretty decent gaming computer there. And I was like, oh, I could have bought that. But I didn't. It all worked out in the end. That's the moral of the story. But the story continues. I find myself in the Walmart. I tell the guy, I think I said like 20 minutos, like 20 minutes. I think I was in there for literally an hour. Luckily, he didn't leave. Because this is when I was just a chick with my head cut off. And I had thrown myself into somewhere. This is where, my 3 years of language as a high school class would really come in handy, except all we did was use vocab words and just memorize them. Comprehensive reading and having conversations work, that's a little tougher. Anyways, I was now in a Walmart in a different country, being pretty much the only English speaker in the entire area. I don't even really know how that felt. It just felt so weird. It was an experience unlike any other, that's for sure. And I'm glad I'm able to come back, tell the tale, and tell you guys that I did end up getting the computer. I attempted at first, tried some simple things. I said, look, I just need to go on Google Translate. I did that. I think I spent 10 minutes talking to a guy. After we got through 10 minutes, I said, look, my family left their computer here. We need a computer while we're here for this stay. What is just the best specs computer you have? Pointed me to it. It was not even that great. I think it was i3 500 storage. Graphics card of essentially like the Intel based graphics, not like an NVIDIA. I said, look, we'll take it. My card got declined like 2 times, but we eventually got it. And after a long period, I said to myself, well, if I'm ever stranded in a different country, I think I could survive. So that was helpful in getting my confidence there. After a long string of events, we got home. We got the computer. I had to spend actually an extra $100 on the computer because it's a Spanish-based computer. You physically cannot change the language unless you buy it. You buy the language pack and literally hard reset it to become English. And there was like Spanish keys. There was like the ñ key on it. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. So, it was kind of an incredible story that it was just the apex of me being, on top of me being mentally lost with all this dissonance and how I was interacting with my friend group. I was also literally lost as I was the only English speaking person in a Walmart. Basically, when you're at the bottom, you only go up. And from there, things were looking up. I was thinking a lot. And when I got back, I was ready to just improve everything. The way I connected with people and the way the overall dynamic shifted. Able to adapt, improvise, and overcome. The classic meme, am I right? And funny enough, the prelims I did while I was there, I think it was like 4 prelims I did on that computer. They were so bad. It was like you had to live stream them as well. That was like the main issue. You could play the game, but you had to live stream it. It was like 20 FPS VODs, but as long as you got the VODs, it was okay. It's funny because none of those prelims actually were a factor in determining my seed, because I did so many after I got home that it didn't even matter. But I think that story helps determine, it helps become equated to the determination I had, really, to make sure I still felt connected to something, that being this Ori race and these races, as I was solving everything else that was going on around me. And well, when you go back and look at the tournament and you see Cleanfel first place, I think it really goes to show that I did put in everything into that, didn't I? So, the truth of the matter is that you can be so incredibly lost in something, disconnected from the world. You feel like you're at the loneliest part of your life. But there's only one way to go, and that's up. So I think from me personally is obviously never find yourself stuck somewhere. You can always have a place to go. And even if you have to, retreat to just like that one little thing that keeps you going, whether it's a game, a person, an event, a location, let that fuel you, let that surge you to bounce back and become better, right? I think that's the moral of the story. So, I want to thank you all for tuning into this story of me being cognitively lost and dissonant during my summer vacation. But it was fun, though. We caught some fish. You should see the pictures. Oh, man. I caught a marlin. Oh, that was cool. It was still a great vacation in the end, and I really got to just chill with my family, be alone, and have a great time. A lot of morals to the story, and a lot of morals that really don't make sense in the end. But I want to always just make sure that you guys continue to be awesome, right? Continue to connect with those around you in the best ways you can to help you create new experiences that are always going to be there for you. I believe you all have what it takes. I'm not worried. But yeah, I think from me, and I've done a lot, I think just never let yourself get too blown away by the changes that come in life, because I've done that before. I've had a year, one of my years be the year of change, because a lot of things change you, and they'll continue to change you, shape the dynamic of how you interact and how you decide certain things, because you're you. But you will not be you in a year or so, right? Constantly taking on new things in life, and you're saying, oh, that aspect could really help improve me. And there you go. Now you have it. A video, kind of like the randomizer. The randomizer tournament I was part of. You pick all these things in this in this one seed throughout this map that helps you succeed and get to the end. And every single time you do it, it's a little different on where these things are. And every single year you go through life, these things that help improve you might come from a different source. And here, it was becoming more disconnected from myself than ever before, to become more connected than ever before. Funny how that works. Ironic, isn't it? So, I hope you stay connected as we go into the new year. Have some great New Year's resolutions, maybe. New things you want to improve upon yourself. New ways you learned how to be yourself, love others. And just never stop being your very best. Because I know you guys got it. So thank you all so much for listening. And I, again, appreciate the wait. You guys waiting for this episode. And I hope that in the new year, the one thing is for sure is that we'll get more than 3 episodes in a year. All right? You can count on that. All right? So from me and from everyone combined, I want to thank you all so much for tuning in and listening and being a part of this community that I've grown. And let's continue to grow and be more awesome than ever before. All right? All right, that sounds like a deal. I'll catch you on the flip side. Stay connected. Stay awesome. Take care.